Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline podcast. So it's games, movies, TV, VR maybe, getting back into the VR. There'll definitely be stuff from the week. I'll probably be complaining about something, or maybe one of the, more positive episodes we've been doing recently. If you're checking us out on YouTube, then do subscribe. And if you're already subscribing, get a friend to subscribe. And they'll tell two friends. And they'll tell two friends. Wherever you do get your podcast, you can subscribe, even if it's on audio only. And subscribing makes us feel warm and fuzzy. So here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline podcast. Oh, I've got to get myself comfortable. Microphone's a million miles away. It's probably I can't hear me. Now it's all making a lot of noise. Still feel like you can't hear me. Maybe I'm not talking loud enough. Maybe that's the problem. Feeling a little rough. Been feeling a touch off this afternoon. Feeling worse this evening. So one of those, probably just going to try and sort of rattle through this podcast. So you have to excuse me if it's not quite as in depth as usual. Let's crack on. I've written something down on my list, and I don't know if I've been through this before, but saying about how sometimes I write something down on a list like a week before, and then how it goes, like a week passes and you're a bit like, I don't know if that's really the subject that I want to talk about. But in honour of writing it down on the list, I'm still going to give it a mention. Something I wrote down on my list was literally about a week ago. I have been working all day. I think it was a day I was working at home. It felt like a day. But I don't know. For some reason, I felt like I hadn't seen my youngest for a while. Maybe that was because I was working in a different part of the house for a while, or maybe they'd been out. I don't know. Anyway, I came downstairs. I came into the dining room where she was sat, and suddenly, out of the blue, she's just like, "Dance with me, Daddy." And I was like, "What?" She was like, "Dance with me, Daddy." Like, now, this has never come up before. I can't say that there's a massive amount of dancing in our house, but I'd also say that there's not no dancing. But I was a little taken aback, and I was a bit like, and then it, as it does, it struck me. I was like, okay, I will dance with you. So, I think she was sat in a chair at the time. She sort of like climbed down from the chair, and we just like twirled around the dining room for a little bit. It reminded me that me and my eldest have this long running joke, which is not a joke. It's not a joke. There's a video. There's a very famous video in my family of me dancing with my eldest when she was tiny. Like not a baby, but she must have been, at the most, she was maybe 6 months old. And I'm like holding her. She's obviously not standing or anything, but I'm holding her, and we're dancing. And the running joke there is, any time I have ever shown that video to my eldest, it instantly makes her cry. So there's been points in time where I've kind of, I don't want to use the word tormented, but I have sort of used it to wind her up a little bit. So it's become this kind of like running joke. Even the mention of it, I was like, oh, should we watch that video? She's just like, no. But in and of itself, the video itself is very sweet. I've got this little girl who obviously now is no longer a little girl, and we're just sort of like little dance, little swaying and stuff. And my youngest the other day is like, dance with me, Daddy. And there was a weird part of me that was like, and this will sound awful to start with. But there was a weird part of me that was like, no. It was kind of like a no, I haven't got time, or no, I don't want to dance. I think my head was elsewhere. I think I had either just finished working or I was still working and was just like maybe getting a drink or something, and it was so out of the blue. But then obviously you reset, you control alt delete your brain, and you go, I will absolutely do that. That sounds fantastic, because opportunities like that are few and far between. She said it to me again the next day. She was like, Daddy, dance with me, Daddy. And then I really let loose. There was twirls, her going up and down. A bit later I picked her up so that we could like dance holding hands, and it's things like that, it's moments like that, moments that you certainly hope you'll remember years down the line. Saw a post the other day. It was like obviously a picture done from many years ago of a dad and his young daughter dancing, and then the picture next to it was presumably the same father and daughter. He's obviously a lot older, she's a lot older, but it was a picture of them dancing. And weirdly, I'd seen that like the day before, so I thought it was interesting. So yeah, it was a nice moment in time, and I wrote it down on the list. So I don't know if you know, but I got. Oh, excuse me, I've got something. Oh, God, I've got something going on. I don't feel right. I don't know if you know, but I got a puppy. I may have mentioned it. Had a super rough, get it, week last week, training wise. Everybody everybody tells me how well trained he is, how dogs of his age wouldn't be as trained as he is, and I'm like, oh, if I was going to do it, I was going to do it right. But from the first moment that dog stepped foot out of this house, that first walk, that first, right, he's had all of his injections, he can finally go out. From that very first point in time, he has pulled on his walks. So at this point in time, I am on to, he's had 2 harnesses, nothing to do with the pulling, just he grew out of his first one. He has had 1, 2, 3 different leads. He's had a Holty, I might have mentioned that previously, and he's currently on this thing that it started out as I was using it as what's known as a figure of 8. Goes around their neck and then round their snout. It's designed to give control but not be as aggressive as the Holty. So we went out last week and there was just this day, by the time I got home, I was practically in tears. He has this thing about puddles. When we walk through a puddle, we'll actively avoid puddles to the point that it's like he's been fired out of a cannon. The other day it had rained, or it was raining, or whatever, and rather than interact with a puddle, he basically launched himself into the road, which is a main road, and a car was coming. And it was purely like there must have been an inch between him and the front of the car. And that was it. That was the final straw for me, because anything like that, I immediately go, oh my God, what would have happened if he'd been hit by that car? Oh my God, what would have happened if he'd have ended up in the road? Oh my God. And then all of that immediately turns into anger. What the hell are you doing? Why would you do that? You nearly got yourself killed. All of that. And at that point in time, I was done. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I've mentioned this previously, but I am still firmly in the camp of why anybody would get a dog knowing now what you have to go through to make a dog functional is beyond me. I read books, I watched videos, I listened to podcasts. I was as informed as I could be without actually doing it. And then when it came to doing it, I realised that there is no amount of information out there in the world available to correctly inform you how to raise a puppy. I do not know how anybody has done it up till this point, why anybody would do it, and how the dog species is going to continue when it's this. So I came home and I was like, that's me, I'm done. I'm out. I'm tapping out here and now. That's me, I am done. So Leonard's taken for a walk the next morning, because the walk I'd had with him was an evening walk. And this has been building for a couple of days. So then, come that next evening, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to take him out. And as with every single thing I've ever done with training this dog, I realised the thing that was annoying me the most wasn't actually anything to do with him, as I'm sure we can all imagine. It was actually me. It's hard to explain. I was like, oh, all he does is pull. But that wasn't actually true. It turned out that he doesn't. He just walks out in front. And looking back, it was like a vast improvement from where he started to where he was at that point in time. And I was like, I've not registered that he doesn't pull anymore to a degree. He just walks out in front, and what I should be looking into is how to get him to walk with me, how to get him to walk next to me. So that's what I did. I looked it up and I was like, right, okay, anyway, let's get this cracked. Watched a ton of videos. And I'm like, every single one of these videos is telling me stuff I already know and have already tried, and it doesn't work. And this is the problem. Because you'll watch a video that will tell you hands down, absolutely 100% of the time, the way to get a dog to walk with you, to not pull, to do all this, is to do this thing called figure of eights. And basically, when the dog pulls, you turn and go the other way. And then when the dog pulls again, you turn and go the other way. Do it enough times and the dog's like, I haven't got a clue what's going on, so I'll just kind of follow your lead, you tell me where we're going. And that's that. No more pulling, dog walks with you, job done. Watched the video the other day, there was guys like, this dog came to me, he was crazy on pulling, I've had him for 20 minutes, he doesn't pull anymore. Showing on the video. Look, I'm barely holding the lead. I'm like, well, I'm happy for you, but that doesn't work. So I randomly found this video. This guy in Australia who's like, if you want to know how to get your dog to walk with you, just do this. And it was, take 2 steps, let the dog pull, take 2 steps back, bring the dog with you, get him to sit down next to you, and do it again. And at this point in time, I was like, oh man, I have tried everything. I might as well try this. So 2 days after I come home, basically in tears, like just unable to do it anymore. And as an aside, what makes it worse is he learns other things almost instantly. So he gets out there, I was like, right, we're going to try this. So we tried it, and he did it. He kind of did it okay. And we tried it again, and he kind of did it okay. So walking along, if he pulls ahead, if he goes further, if his shoulders go further ahead than my stride, you have to stop, 2 steps back, bring him in line, reset him, and away you go. Got 2/3 of the way around this walk, and I'm like, oh my god, it's working. He's walking with me. I can't believe it after all this time and everything, all the time and effort I've put into it. It's finally working. So I get home, yet again, practically in tears, because I'm so overjoyed, I'm so over the moon. It's such a massive relief. So this has been the method for the last nearly week. Typically get to this evening when I take him out for a walk and he is literally like, yeah, I'm bored of doing this now, so how about we don't, and I'll just do whatever the fuck I want, yeah. So I got home and I was tearing my hair out, because this is a thing he does. What he does is he's like, oh, I see what we're doing here. We're doing this new thing where you're trying to get me to do something. Cool. And he does it for a set amount of time. And then he goes, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to do what I want to do. He is so hell-bent on being out in front. And the other thing he does is he drifts in front of me so that he is walking in front of me. And I was like, that's a dominance thing. Because he doesn't do it to anybody else. I was like, that is a dominance thing. And it's super dangerous. Because what he does is he drifts in front of me whilst I'm walking. So I'm like, if you get that wrong, I'm going to fall over you. I'm going to get injured, or you're going to get injured, or we're both going to get injured. And then what? What if one of us breaks something? So that's where that's at. Obviously, at this point in time now, I'm dreading taking him for a walk in the morning, because who knows what he's going to decide for the morning. And it's at this point in time I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, don't get a dog. Don't get a dog. If you're considering getting a dog because you think you know what it's going to be like, don't get a dog. Don't do it. It is so far beyond anything that anybody tells you. That includes any books you read, any videos you watch, anything. It is so far beyond that I am surprised dogs as a species have survived this long. I can't believe that somebody hasn't looked at it and gone, I mean, this is pointless, so let's just stop. I've got something there to talk about Instagram. The irony being is at the time of recording, Instagram is down, as is Facebook, as is WhatsApp, and the world is going mental. Think about that for a second. Think about that. What I wrote down here about Instagram is I've noticed recently, which is super fun, that for a long time it's been this thing where Instagram's basically just yet another platform for adverts, because adverts rule the world. And Instagram, wildly popular, and you know, Facebook has adverts but you can scroll past them. Until recently, where if you watch a video on Facebook they slap an advert right in the middle of it. Super fun. Instagram has always had adverts from what I can remember or tell or whatever. And if you watch Instagram stories, oh Jesus, in the middle of Instagram stories you get adverts. But now, new and improved Instagram adverts, you now get double adverts. So you get an Instagram story, and then when it goes into like the next person in the list of your Instagram stories, you get an advert. It's like, yeah, whatever, you skip through it. And then, where the bit where it's supposed to go on to the next person who is going to be doing an Instagram story, what you get is another advert. And what dawned on me the other day, when I was pissing and moaning about yet another advert, I was like, why does it need to stop there? Why doesn't it do 3 adverts? Why doesn't it do 4 adverts? What if somewhere in the future, somewhere down the line, you get Instagram adverts, but then the Instagram stories are like the adverts now? You get a load of adverts and then one story, and then a load of adverts and then one story. And then here's the beauty, you'll be able to pay for like Instagram Pro, where you'll be able to remove the adverts for a monthly fee. watch out for that coming, I'd say in the next 6 months. That's a conservative estimate. I reckon it's going to be sooner than that. A couple of weeks ago, I wrote something on a list to talk about in a podcast. And then when it got to the podcast, it was very much like I was saying about like other things on this week's list. When it got to the podcast, I didn't talk about it because it wasn't relevant at that point in time. I was like, it's going to seem silly to talk about it now when it's no longer relevant. That subject is back. It's back on the list, and it's back, baby. So here we go. This time we are going to talk about. We're talking about the change of the weather. That's right, we've reached a point where the podcast is that dull that we're now going to talk about the weather. So, a while ago, the reason I'd put it on the list was because one day I was wearing shorts and the next day I was wearing a jumper. I was like, whoa, that came around quick. But then by the time I went to do the podcast, I was back in shorts. I was like, it seems a bit silly to talk about a change in weather and a change in attire when it wasn't relevant. So over the space of last week, I went from the ground up, flip-flops, no socks, shorts, t-shirt, in the same day to, stuck with the flip-flops, socks, yes I know, trousers, t-shirt, jumper by lunchtime the same day. And this is the thing. Here's the thing about this, because when I was originally going to talk about it, I was going to talk about how for many, 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 many years I was never really a fan of summer. When I was little, when I was young, I used to have horrific hay fever, crippling hay fever. If you then add to that, I was allergic to grass, and just the general bugs, heat, all of the joys of summer. I hated summer. I hated summer with a passion. There would be days where I wouldn't be able to open my eyes on a morning because they would be like glued shut. You've started the day well. When you've had to soak your eyes open. Being asthmatic, hay fever and asthma go hand in hand. It was just a nightmare. When I got a bit older, when I got quite a bit older, a lot older, what I then found was that my hatred of summer faded. And it was like, you just kind of have to grin and bear it. And, well, it does mean you can go to the beach, and it does mean that you've got the later nights, and it does mean... And the list of reasons why summer was good got longer. Then, in the last few years, there's been the whole, insanely hot summers. And it's been a little bit more like summer, man. It's awful. So as a man who has never really been the biggest fan of summer, always or most of the time being in a position of being overweight, you can imagine what an overweight man has to deal with in the summer. But this year's summer was basically a complete non-starter. At the time, I was like, this'll do me. I'm kind of okay with this. After a while, I was like, a little bit of summer would be okay. Be nice to go to the beach, be nice to do, water pistols, paddling pool, that sort of thing. All this. But I was like, you gotta take the rough with the smooth. I'm sure I'll be wishing it was colder soon. And that never really happened. Through all of summer, it never really got like oppressively hot. So, when the cold weather comes round, even I felt a little robbed. I was like, really? Most years I welcome it. Most years I'm like, oh, it's autumn, oh, you get your jumpers out and stuff. This year I was just a bit miffed about it. So it's just like, gotta get the jumpers out. Gotta put the shorts away. That sort of stuff. Oh dear. So yes, the weather has changed. The dark nights are rolling in. I don't mean Batman. And yeah, we haven't even had the clocks change yet. So when that happens, it'll just be super depressing. Last thing I wrote down on my list for the week, I had a super rough weekend. One of those things that, some of the things that make for a bad weekend in our house are hard to discuss, hard to talk about. So, each of my children was being a particular way. For two of those children, they were literally rubbing each other up the wrong way. For one of the children, who knows? So, my eldest, it was just a rough weekend with her, and I find that really difficult because, as I said to her, I've always looked at it like me and her are like a little team. I've always looked at it that way. And when we're not like our little team, then I'm like, I get upset and I don't want to use the word angry. I get frustrated because I'm upset, and I'm like, why does it have to be like this? I just want to have a nice time, and I want to do nice things. I want us to enjoy the time and that sort of thing. So there was that going on. Then middle daughter was hell bent on some kind of mission where she just wanted to play with all the youngest toys and was generally just poking the bear, like subtly tormenting the youngest. Not like going out, not like going at her, but subtly tormenting her. My youngest has this issue, completely understandable issue, but she does have this issue. She adores her sisters. She loves them to bits. They're her big sisters. They are great. She's got there's something with each of them. My middle daughter is like closer to her age, and they're like a little unit. But she loves her eldest sister, and she just gets so excited when they come in, and like when they're not here, she asks about them, and when they've gone, she asks where they are, and one of those things that's simultaneously really nice and really sad. But because she gets me, not, well, it's full time, isn't it? You know, all the time that she's here and all the time that I'm here, then it's me and her. It's like that version of full time. Leanne's here, so it's just us and the dog and the cats. But then when the other two come, it's that fighting for attention thing is completely understandable. However, she has taken to resorting to violence to resolve certain situations. So, take the middle daughter's low-level tormenting, take the youngest's quick to violence, and what you end up with is the little one hitting the medium one with a doll. And you're a bit like, oh, part of me feels that it was it was justified because you're low-level tormenting her. And then to top it off, the middle daughter, then you'd think she was going for an Oscar with the performance she gives when she gets quote unquote hurt. So a lovely weekend was had by all. Ah, man. Let's move on. Let's move away from that. Here's something, and I've been looking at the list. I'm like, how has this happened? I have watched 4 films in the last week. So, I have watched Walk. Oh my god! I have watched Walk the Line. A film I've seen previously. I've only seen it once before, and I saw it a long time ago. I'm pretty sure I own it on DVD. For those of you who don't know, Walk the Line is the story of Johnny Cash. Probably more of a story of Johnny Cash and June Carter. Could be viewed as a love story. It's autobiographical. Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon. Reese Witherspoon is one of those actresses or actors, as they're known now, as female actors, I guess. Pardon me. She is not. I am not Reese Witherspoon's target audience, so I've never really had a lot of time for her. Like literally, all I can think off the top of my head is like Legally Blonde. I don't think I'm Legally Blonde's target audience. However, what I will say is that she's very good in Walk the Line. She's very good in the role of June Carter. Joaquin Phoenix does a very good Johnny Cash. When I saw it originally, I thought it was a very enjoyable film. I really liked it. Very much, I'm sure I'll watch that again some point down the line. And as it is, I did. This time around, though, I've obviously watched it with different eyes. It was quite a hard watch. Just like the relationship between him and her and what that did to him, what that also did to the people around him, his relationship with his father. Yeah, it was a difficult watch, hard film to watch this time round. Still very good, still very enjoyable. But yeah, a lot harder than I thought it was going to be to sort of digest. I still really enjoy the Folsom Prison bit. How the Folsom Prison album outsold like everybody, like the Beatles when it was released. I watched not one, not two, but all three Taken movies. Basically, it's one of those things with succumbing to Disney Plus in this house, and the fact that they've added a load of stuff from Fox, I guess it is. There's a lot of films on there, and they keep adding new stuff all the time. So, it'd be rude not to. I'm not going to go through each of them individually. I'll just do a little bit about. Watch the first Taken. I thoroughly enjoyed the original Taken, the first one when it originally came out. I've seen it many times since. But because of that, I haven't seen it for a little while. Working my way through, I watched Taken 3 recently, and I'm aware, and this is where things get interesting, I'm aware I did a review of it, and that was at a time. Taken 3 and the review I did of it is the reason that I no longer put individual pictures on this podcast on YouTube. Because I got a copyright strike for using a picture of Taken 3, like a movie poster. So yeah, that drove me to stop putting pictures on the podcast. I think it was also to do with the fact that I didn't give a very good review. I'm going to say something quite bold at this point in time. I don't think Taken has aged very well. So, looking back at Taken now, what went somewhat unnoticeable the first time watching it originally was just how old the daughter is. So I think it's one of these like little known fact type things that the woman playing the daughter, who is supposed to be 17 at the time, was like 23 or something at the time she played that role. Going back and watching it now, it is so obvious that she's so much older than the age that she's supposed to be playing. It really stands out. It's really it's almost like off-putting to a degree. So you've got that. Then you've got the fact that there are certain films that I remember originally being like, oh my god, this film's amazing. It's groundbreaking. Then you go back and watch it again and you're like, oh, I don't think I really realised that at the time. I have a feeling that it was like the Bourne films. Taken uses a lot of jump cuts to hide a lot of the action. Like, let's face it, in reality, I don't think Liam Neeson's going to be all that when it comes to like hand-to-hand combat. So basically, the filmmakers have just hidden that in really quick, like, jump cuts. Like even in like the driving scenes, like, oh, we're seeing the steering wheel, oh, we're seeing the outside of the car, oh, we're seeing the footwell of the inside of the car, oh, we're seeing the steering, oh, we're seeing the pedals, oh, and it's just that, bam, 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 bam. And at the time, it probably went a little unnoticeable. Yet now, it's super noticeable, and you know now that it's a technique used to hide things. So the realization of watching the first take and realizing that it's maybe not actually aged overly well. But anyway, we moved on to Taken 2. There's just some real, like, massive plot holes in Taken 2. It's just like how they go from like, oh, this situation's happening, oh, why don't you come to, I can't even think where it's set. I want to say Budapest, but I don't think it is. Is it Istanbul? I don't want to look it up, this is the thing. Anyway, they all end up there, and this time round it's him and the ex-wife who, they're kind of rekindling their relationship. They get taken, and the daughter's got to find them with all of her spy skills and her driving. There is a scene, I remember reviewing this film originally. There is a scene in Taken 2. It's like a section where there's a car chase. And the car chase involves Liam Neeson saying to the woman that plays his daughter, drive faster, about 50 times. That's it. It's just him saying, drive faster. And her, every now and then, saying that she can't. Again, watching it again, it was super noticeable. Then, there's this thing where Famke Janssen's character, the ex-wife, gets, like, her throat partially cut. And they're like, oh, how long? You know stuff. How long is it going to take for her to bleed out? And he's like, oh, half an hour. Sorry, I've got half an hour. Never addressed through the rest of the film. The rest of the film takes, a lot longer than half an hour. Never addressed. No mention of any medical attention. It's fine though, still alive at the end, isn't she? Spoilers, by the way. So watching the second take, and I was like, this film has got some issues. Taken 3. Now, I heard a thing recently that said that Liam Neeson agreed to do Taken 3 on the condition that nobody got taken. Think the clue's in the title there. But anyway, we introduce Forest Whitaker. I've always enjoyed Forest Whitaker's work. So it's like, alright, cool. Famke Janssen's in it. The daughter's in it. However, they've replaced the actor who plays Famke Janssen's current, or soon to be ex, or whatever, husband. And here's something. I think I might have been overly harsh on Taken 3 when I originally saw it. But only a little bit. It's still not amazing. It's still not great. it's okay, which I have a feeling is a better review than I gave it at the time. One of those as a trilogy. Yeah. I do kind of wish that they would just leave stuff. You know, Taken should have been left as Taken. John Wick should have been left as John Wick. You know, those kind of films, it's like, oh my god, this film was great. Oh, it's really setting the bar. It's like, well, then leave it alone. Don't then make a franchise that ruins the original. The Matrix. Saw a trailer for the new Matrix. Jesus. So yeah, those are the films. The films. Now then, I know what you're going to say. And I know what you're thinking. Did I or did I not play any VR this week? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you. Against all odds, I have in fact played VR. I'm having some major VR issues. Cannot get a stable connection. It's quite frustrating. It's quite infuriating. It makes for an awful playing experience. You have to stop every 3 seconds to 2 minutes to reset stuff. Sometimes it just completely crashes. Steam VR is probably one of, if not the worst invention known to man. I would love if somebody could give me some pointers on how to make a more stable VR connection. Having said that, I have managed to play and last night finish Arizona Sunshine. Now I know what you're thinking. Jesus Christ, are you going to talk about Arizona Sunshine again? I am, but only from the perspective that I've actually played the PC version of Arizona Sunshine rather than the Quest version. And I know what you're thinking. Well, I mean, they're the same game. No, they're not. They are different games. A lot of stuff's the same, and you can see why they made some of the decisions they made when they've ported it to the Quest. Obviously, you need to tone it down a bit. You can't have loads of different zombies. You can have a few zombies. A few different types of zombies. You can't have loads. You can't have running zombies. Because I imagine the Quest can't handle that. And certain design, like level designs, will probably work if they're a little bit more linear on the Quest. One of those things, you know, everybody knows at this point in time, I love Arizona Sunshine. It's absolutely one of my top 3 VR games. Arizona Sunshine, Boneworks, Pistol Whip are probably the top 3, and I couldn't tell you in which order. They just need to live up there. It's a great game, and as I've said before, it's largely to do with the narration and the way it's narrated. Some really cool features in Arizona Sunshine. Sniper rifles that have working scopes. One thing I will say, and I don't know if this was anything to do with the setup and the connection issues that I'm having, but in the Quest version, you can shoot a zombie in the head. You can do it at distance. You can, 9.5 times out of 10 you can shoot a zombie in the head. Like I say, even at distance. The PC version was a lot less forgiving even with the red dots, it was very difficult to shoot zombies in the head, especially at distance. Yeah, it was an interesting play because of the fact that some of the levels were like ever so slightly different layout. It's like, oh, I'm gonna have to find my way through this level different to how I've played it previously. I love that game. If I could find a way to make playing VR more stable than I've got it at the moment, I'd probably play it again, which would be like the 6th time. However, I have got other games. I've got games from 3 VR bundles that I just haven't been able to work through for one reason or another, so I should really get cracking with those. And obviously I will let you know how we get on. If anybody does know how to make a more stable VR connection, if you could give me a shout, that would be amazing. And obviously I can update people. As with things like working my way through the Taken franchise, anybody who's been listening along and has ever got this far in these podcasts will know that I've been playing through the Hitman franchise. I have been playing Hitman 3. Hitman 3 is a step backwards, and that's difficult to swallow. Hitman 2 is hands down the best of the 3 rebooted Hitman games. Hands down. Hitman 2 is a fantastic game. It is worlds apart from 1, and all of this stuff I've already been through up till this point. 3, I didn't really want to do much of a review of 3 until I'd A, started playing it again, and ideally B, finished it. I think I might have just gone on to the last level. Maybe. Hitman 3 is a step backwards, and for all the wrong reasons. So Hitman 3 is basically the do what you want game, when as a franchise it spent 3 games building you up as a, this is how you should play it, this is how you should do it, try doing it this way, here's a hint for you, have you tried this, what do you think to this, is this a good idea? You can, you've got wiggle room inside all of that stuff, but really it gives you help along the way. Hitman 3 is do whatever the hell you want. It goes against the play style that it has given you up to this point in time. Such a baffling decision that I honestly wonder what the hell they were doing on this game. It really is a baffling decision. To add to that, what makes things in a lot of ways worse is Hitman 3 has what is hands down my least favourite Hitman mission. Now, here's the thing. I imagine if you ask hardcore Hitman fans, more hardcore than me, and I've got a Hitman tattoo, if you ask them what the best ever Hitman mission, level, whatever it is, they will almost definitely tell you it's the same one that I think is probably the worst. The nightclub mission in Hitman 3 is awful in my opinion, because it is the do what you want level in the do what you want game. It gives you zero help. The level itself is massive, and there is no clear objective, because what it says is take out a load of agents. Okay, cool. It doesn't tell you how many, but in actual fact it's 5. Which I think you can find that information out by looking in certain places. But it turns out it's 5. But there's loads of them and they're all over the place. But you don't know who they are until you get in the vicinity of them. I hate this level so much. It's too big. It's too complicated. There's too many people to look for. There's too many people to take out. There are no opportunities to do any of it. It's a nightmare. I got to the point where I was like, hang on a minute. This person says they've seen me doing something, quote unquote illegal or whatever. But that was kind of the end of it. They didn't really do anything about it. They were like, hey, what are you doing? So then I carried on doing stuff and people were like, yeah, whatever. And at the point I realised that, I was like, fuck this shit. I'm just going to blast my way through this level. Obviously, it's always the intention to aim for like the silent assassin rating. That level I'm aiming to get through it without smashing the PlayStation to pieces. So once I realised there is quite a lot of wiggle room in certain points in that level, I was like, fuck it, let's just blast through it. Killed like 3 people back to back. And by that point I think I'd already killed 2. And it was like, find an exit. I was like, fucking 2, right, I'm out of it. Like I say, I do think I have maybe gone on to the last level. Again, I am very much aware that it is a big level. But I'm hoping, now that I say that, I think it might be, I'm hoping the opportunities are back as an option. We will find out. There we go. That is the podcast for this week. Sorry if it was in any way rushed. Like I say, not feeling 100%. So, yeah, just getting it done. Thank you very much. And I'll speak to you next time. So there you go. What do you think to that? Another one done. Another one gone. If you're checking us out on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, or anywhere that podcasts live, do subscribe because it's big for us. It's real big. We love it. If you want to check out our website, it's cookiecast.com. It's got all sorts over there, including ways you can get in touch with us like social media and email. Drop us a line, let us know how you're getting on, and if it's a good one, we'll read it out. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye. I'll see you then.